Ford has unveiled the 7th generation Mustang for 2024. They say it's a complete redesign, and I'm sure there are a lot of new aspects, but there's also some aspects that aren't so new that we're going to discuss. So there's a couple different variants of the Mustang that we're going to talk about, one of which being the dark horse that really intrigues me the most. So let's start overall with the looks of the car. Now, I want your thoughts down in the comments about this as we talk about it, especially with this new design. Is this something that you can get behind, or is this a little too aggressive for you? This is, to me, something I'm going to have to warm up to, much like I did with the S550. When I first saw the S550, I wasn't a big fan, but then it grew on me, and now it's one of my favorite body styles. This one I feel is going to be the same scenario. I like aspects of this car, but being it does seem to be a pretty drastic change on at least the front end, more so the back end, but we'll get to that in a minute. I don't hate it, but again, it's going to have to grow on me. The LED lights are nice. I like that. We kept the big open grille in the front. That's very S550-ish, as we did with the little, I don't want to call them shark fins or whatever the angle fins are under the grille that you'll see in, say, the Mach 1 or even the Shelby GT350. I like that design aspect of it. They kept that, was nice. The proportions of the car are still overall the same. I think there's like a ½ inch shorter in certain areas. I haven't pulled those specs yet, but when I do, I'll let you know. I do think the hood vents make a drastic difference in the look of the car. I do like the look with the hood vents and not as much without it. I mean, we have a picture here of 3 of them, 2 of which have the hood vent, and the one on the far left, the silver one, does not. And it definitely does not look as aggressive as the 2 on the right. Also, I think the one on the left might be a lower trim model, not only because of that, but the grille is also different. If you notice there, it doesn't have the 2 bars in the grille the same as the other ones do. And the vents under the headlight in front of the front wheel aren't as large as the other ones. So I'm thinking the gray and the red ones are GT models. The other one might be an EcoBoost, but you can definitely see a styling difference. Now from the side, again, it does look a lot like the existing S550, but you can see the fender in the rear almost looks Camaro-ish. I don't want to compare it to a Camaro, God forbid, but something about that rear fender reminds me of a Camaro. And even more so if you have certain angles of the rear end, like this one, I don't know why, just comes across that way. Maybe it's the tail lights, maybe it's the angles that I'm seeing. I'm not sure, but I want your thoughts on that as well. It has this real sharp indent in the trunk that I'm not sure I like or not. It's, again, definitely different. I do like the rear diffuser, though, and the quad tailpipes, also very nice. But let's move on to the interior. And the interior, to me, is a real strong mixed bag. There's aspects about it I like, aspects about it I don't like, but overall, it doesn't look like a Mustang anymore. I know the giant digital gauge cluster and infotainment center is very futuristic, and I'm sure, you know, manufacturers are going to feel they need to move in that direction, and that's great, but it took away from the retro styling that the Mustang has always had. That big screen just makes it look like any other car. Now, when I say any other car, that's where I'm even more confused, because the interior now looks like a bunch of parts grabbed from the bin at Ford from different vehicles, because again, doesn't look like a Mustang, except for old carryover parts that we have seen in the S550, like the trans tunnel. It's the exact same thing in the existing car. The shifter and shift knob, the exact same shifter. Even the door panels are the exact same. So there are a lot of carryover parts. I even think the seats are the same. The Recaro seats look exactly the same. And to me, that doesn't exactly scream all new. The steering wheel reminds me of the same wheel that's in the Maverick and the Bronco, except they have some nice 9 and 3 grips there and the flat bottom, which is really nice. So, I mean, the look of the steering wheel is really cool. I do like the steering wheel. And that gets even more pronounced when I look at the center stack. Under the infotainment screen, we have the square vents that look like it's straight out of the Maverick, as does the dash pad and vent setup in front of the passenger seat. So parts of this look like the Maverick, and other parts like the panels and seats and trans tunnel look like an old Mustang. So, I mean, I'm not really a big fan of the interior. But again, I want your thoughts on that. The seats, again, look to be carryover. I just feel like Ford could have did a little bit more when they say all new design, because I don't feel like this is an all new design. The one new thing that you will see, though, is this electronic handbrake or emergency brake here that they are saying will also double as a drift button. So I'm not sure how that's going to work. When I get more details on that mode and how it works, I'll let you know in a follow-up video. But now let's talk about the things that is most important when it comes to the Mustang, and that is the drivetrain. Now, this is something that is somewhat new because we are keeping the 2.3 liter turbo four-cylinder for the EcoBoost model, but they said it is revised and will get a little bit more power than the previous generation. We're also keeping the V8. Thank God we are still keeping the V8. So the 5-liter Coyote is going to get another generation that's also revised. And although horsepower numbers have not officially been unveiled, a Ford engineer during the debut let it slip that it should be producing 480 horsepower. Now that's not official, but it was mentioned during the debut, so let's take that with a grain of salt. But I feel like that could also be semi-confirmed with another spec we have on the Dark Horse that we'll talk about in just a second. Now again, we're also keeping the 6-speed manual transmission. That's also great news. It's very important, at least in my eyes, that we keep that manual transmission going in the important sports cars that we have. So this one actually does come with rev matching though. So I'm super stoked about that. I mean, we've had rev matching in other variants of Mustangs, but if they're going to put this in other trims like the GT and not just, say, the Shelbys or the Mach 1s, that's definitely a good thing. We don't know if they're going to still be using the same MT82 or maybe they revised it to make it stronger. We'll have to wait and see what the specs are on that one. But we're also still getting the 10-speed automatic again. That carries over from the previous Mustangs. That's always been a really good performing transmission for the 3rd-gen Coyote. Now, as far as the wheels go, they range from 17-inch all the way up to 20s. 17-inch on the base model. 19s come standard on a GT with optional 20s. It's going to come with 11 paint colors and 3 caliber colors. The caliber colors are going to be black, red, and grabber blue. Now, 2 of the yellow paint colors are new, and they're going to be vapor blue and splash yellow. So we're going to wait and see what those look like. Now, you are going to get an optional performance pack just like you did in the S550, and that's going to give you things like front tower brace, torsion limited slip differential, wider wheels and tires, Brembo brakes, brake ducting, and auxiliary engine coolers. So make sure you leave me your thoughts on the base and the GT model Mustang. And now we're going to touch on the new one, which is the Dark Horse. This is a street track performance oriented Mustang, totally new from Ford. And they said this one's going to be putting out 500 horsepower. So that's pretty cool. This one, unlike the others, I like immediately. The looks of this just look really cool. This goes to show that with some visual modifications, it can definitely take the look of the car to a whole new level. And this is one I really like. Immediately you can see the front splitter, the side skirts, much better wheels. It's got a hood graphic on it. This is the way the car should look. I like how they took the black from the grille and actually extended it under the headlights with a little bit of, I guess it's going to be vinyl graphic. Definitely gives it a more aggressive look that way. And he even went with some graphics on the hood. You got the big solid piece down the center behind the vent and 2 smaller angular pieces on the sides. The wheels I absolutely love. They're, to me, it kind of reminds me of the old BBS wheels you'd find on some cars. Or more of a modern take on the 5-spoke PP2 package. You got some larger tips on the exhaust in the back, which makes me think they're going to give you some kind of upgraded exhaust system with this model, much more aggressive spoiler. Overall, just a better looking car. Now, I'm sure with the aftermarket world the way it is, the Mustangs and the incredible endless amounts of options you have, if you do get a base model, you can make it look like this or even make it your own. Now, as far as the engine in this, it is a revised version yet again of the 5-liter V8 Coyote engine. This one makes 500 horsepower. Now, it also says that it'll be likely making 20 more than the GT, which again confirms what the executive was saying about the GT model making 480. So take that again as a grain of salt, but this gives us a better look at numbers. Now, the other modifications for the Dark Horse engine is going to be upgraded piston connecting rods that will be featured in the latest GT500. It also has a dual throttle body intake designed for extra air. Also comes with a unique lighter radiator, more powerful fans, and auxiliary engine cooler. As far as the transmission is concerned, it says the 6-speed manual transmission is standard and it is made by Tremec. So we know, at least for the Dark Horse, we are not getting the MT82 again. So that's a huge upgrade. There is an optional 10-speed auto if you want it though, with paddle shifters. As far as the brakes and chassis are concerned, again, the Dark Horse is going to up the ante even more than the GT, which includes larger rear sway bars, a heavy-duty front shocks, Magna Ride control adaptive dampers are standard. Steering enhancement with a new lightweight strut tower brace and K-brace. Torsion rear differential is standard, along with Brembo 19-inch 6-piston brakes with 13.9-inch rotors up front. The rears were not mentioned yet. They do have a staggered wheel setup, 19 by 9.5 in the front and 19 by 10 in the rear, that will wear Pirelli P0 tires. It's also going to get an optional handling package which adds stiffer springs, even larger front and rear sway bars, and wider Pirelli Trofeo tires on wider wheels, which will be 19 by 10.5 in the front and 19 by 11 in the rear. Now, so far, the Dark Horse almost sounds like the trackback version of the Mach 1, which is not a bad thing. Now, there are some upgrades to the interior as well. It says it's getting a thicker steering wheel with a flat bottom that's going to be wrapped in suede and accented in bright indigo blue stitching. It's going to have contrasting blue stitching across the door panels, seats, gear shifter, and center console, as well as blue seat belts. Now, it says the Dark Horse appearance package will include some blue leather seats with a unique perforation pattern. You're also going to get black alley dark metallic gloss interior trim and a B&O sound system. Now, it says Ford's going to offer 2 dedicated track-only versions. The Dark Horse S for the weekend track goer and the Dark Horse R for all-out racing. Both are going to be stripped down versions of the street legal version, so technically there's going to be 3 versions, with non-essential parts removed and a safety cage, net, racing seats, and a racing steering wheel added. Now, those versions will also include upgraded brakes and a Multimatic DSSV dampers. So all in all, we're getting 3 different Dark Horse models, the street legal version and 2 race versions. So let me know what you think of the all-new S650, or at least that's what we're calling it, S650 Mustang. Is it going to have to grow on you? Do you immediately like it, or do you immediately hate it? Let me know down there. Drop a like on the video for me. Hit that subscribe button on your way out. I'm Kevin, and I'll see you in the next upload.